Have you been watching the Olympics? Well, the Pickens family sure have. We're very excited to see it. I'm very excited because one of the things that fascinates us as a family is seeing people from all over the world come together for this one thing, this one Olympic Games. And it's been 4 years and there's been challenges like COVID, for example. And this week would have been week one that you would have been invited to come and participate in person here at Norwood Salvos. But, well, we're in lockdown. So instead, we all get to stay home and watch the Olympic Games. Hopefully it ends soon, and hopefully we'll get to see you real soon. The Olympic Games does something really fascinating. It does a whole range of things. But one of the things that I find most fascinating is that people from all over the world come to do this one thing, to participate in this one thing. Now, they all do different bits, they all do different sports, and they all play different roles in their team, but they all come to participate in this one thing. And when I think about the Olympic Games, it reminds me so much of actually what it is that God created us to do. See, God created people, that's you, me, and everyone. He created us individually so that we are uniquely made, beautifully and uniquely made, but he also made us to be uniquely made but connected with others, to be linked with others. In fact, we would say to be in community. We know from history that those who lived in tribes and those who grew in tribes or developed strong tribal communities were ones who developed quicker throughout the history of time. Certainly from ancient peoples to modern people, those who participated in communities grew and developed faster than others. Well, Jesus talks a lot about what it means to connect with others. And he tells of a story about a banquet, a party, and everyone's invited to this party. Let's just say like everyone's invited to come and participate in the Olympic Games, right? So Jesus tells this story and he says there's a rich man and he tells his servants, tell everyone who's been invited to come because we're ready. The party's ready. And so the servant, he goes out and he tells everyone who's been invited, hey, guess what? You've been invited. Come to the party. It's ready to go. And he gets to the people and one by one, they've got excuses. One person says, I've just bought some land and I want to go check it out, so I don't want to be a part of your party. Another person says, well, I've just bought some oxen to work. Remember, ancient times. Maybe a tractor. And he wants to see it work. Another person says, well, I just got married, so, I got some married things to do. But all of them come up with excuses. Imagine if that was the Olympic Games, where the Olympic Games committee says, hey, we've got some gold medals to give out, we've got some games, he's got some cool new places, come on everyone. And one by one everyone says, you know what? No, I don't think so, I'm not interested. I mean, I'm not sure if that's ever happened, if a country said, you know what? Nah, I'll pass. No thanks, I don't want to pay. But in this particular story, Jesus says the people didn't want to come, the people who were invited didn't want to come to the party. So the wealthy person says, well, I've got everything here, everything's ready to go. Head out into the streets and invite people to come and party. And so the servant goes out and invites people just off the street. People walking by, hey, guess what? This guy up here, the person I serve, he's got a party. He's got heaps of food. He's got warm rooms. Why don't you come on up and join the party with us? And so they do. They come on up. And then the rich man looks around and goes, you know what? I've got heaps more room. We've got heaps of food, loads of tasty. Why don't we come on up and drink and eat and party and have a good time? And so the servant goes out and he goes even further and he looks for people on the fringes. He looks for those who are the drunkards, and he looks for those who don't have homes, and he looks for those whose worries are overwhelming them. He goes out to the outcasts and says, come on in. The master says there's heaps of food, there's heaps of room, and you're invited to his party. Now, I find this so encouraging because when I grew up as a young fella, I often found myself feeling excluded from various things. I don't know what that was been like for you. I've met a number of families this year and last year who are new to Australia. They don't speak the English as well as, like others who were born here do. They don't understand the culture as well as they would like, and they find it very hard, and sometimes they even find themselves being excluded. And I just think that must be a terrible feeling, just a terrible feeling. But there is a difference between wanting to be a part but not know that you're invited, and being invited and saying no. It's like when someone says, hey, you have been selected to swim the 400 meters at the Olympic Games to represent our country. You are the best in the world. You're the fastest swimmer. We want you to come. You're invited. And then Grant Hackett says, no, actually, I don't want to. And that's kind of what it's like. And then so the team says, well, we're going to go to the next people, because if you don't want to participate, we'll go to the next one. So it's different if they sent the Grant Hackett his letter and say, you've been selected, but they sent it to the wrong address. That would be bad. And he didn't know that he was invited to come and compete in the Olympic Games. That would be terrible. I don't think that's ever happened. I'm pretty confident that's never happened. So there is a difference between being invited and not wanting to go, and wanting to go and not being invited. But this is what Jesus tells this story about, because he says that when God first came into the world, or when God first created people had this relationship with him where they would need him, he would meet their need, then they would reject him, and then they would say, we don't need you. And then they would fall apart, and then they would need him again. They'd call out to him, God would meet their need, and then push him away again. And so this cycle went on and on and on, to a point where God intervened and said, okay, now I'm sending Jesus because I want to change the rules. There was this ancient people called Israelites. The Israelites still exist today, but there was a group of people who controlled what was religiously good, or what they considered to interpret the scriptures and things. And so these people were the people that God had been interacting with from almost the ancient times, as words had been written. So if you've heard of Moses and Abraham and Isaac, and these are famous names in the church world, or in the Bible, because they're the ones who started off essentially the church, or the Israelite community. But in this particular story, Jesus says those people, the people who God expected to want to come and be a part of his party, they're the ones who said, no, I don't want to be a part. And so what Jesus is saying, well, we know that they're going to say no. We know that they're saying no already. So God is saying, let's invite everyone. Everyone's welcome. Doesn't matter who you are. Doesn't matter where you're from. Everyone's invited. Come be a part of God's party. Come and be a part of God's team. Come and be a part of this place, this time that God is calling you to. Because if you didn't know you're invited, Jesus is telling you in the scriptures, he's telling you you're invited. And if you don't know you're invited, if you're listening to this now, I'm telling you, you're invited to be a part of God's party. Now, the other term that we use for party in the scripture is, it says a banquet, but what Jesus is talking about, he's talking about his community, his connections. What we use in the church world is we use the word kingdom, God's kingdom. But it really means God's community, God's people. God is saying, I want you to come and join me and be a part of my community. Come and connect with me. At the Olympics, I watch these teams, and this year it's a little different, but most years you can see that for every competitor there's normally a coach, there's normally support crew, there's all sorts of different people helping that person to achieve their best. Because I find it really interesting is that I don't actually see anyone turn up alone to the Olympics to compete alone. It's kind of absurd to think that we would expect a world-class athlete to start from nothing, train, practice, compete at the world stage with no help. And that's because no one expects them to. Everyone does that with help. And connecting with others is really important. So what are we talking about today? What's the main point that I want you to hear today? The number one is that God has a team, just like we see in the Olympics. God has a team. But his team is more like the Olympics. He's inviting you to come and participate. He's inviting you to come and be a part. He's inviting you to come and join his team. He'll provide the coaches, he'll provide the support crew, he'll provide the fans, he'll provide the party. All you need to do is say yes. Well, I hope you've had a great week, and I hope that today, if you want to read some more, check out Luke chapter 14, and it's a story about the banquet. I really hope that you get some time to be able to read that. May God bless you, and hopefully we'll see you soon in a few weeks.